Thank you for the invitation to participate in this conference. The title of my talk is The Dialogue Between Tradition and Innovation in Language Learning. Second language learners have always tended to devise their own strategies. Some examples of this include reading authentic texts on subjects that interest them, learning to paraphrase in order to make the most use of their knowledge, and purposely incorporating newly learned words and phrases into their own writing and speaking. These sorts of methods will most likely always remain. However, the era of mobile technology and the internet is making it possible to support and improve language learning in new and creative ways. There are now many different language learning applications that are designed to help with specific parts of the learning process. A few instances of these new approaches will be examined in this presentation, focusing on evaluating whether the methods and technology under consideration are consistent with conventional language learning, and if they represent a significant improvement. The first one I will look at is Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone teaches users vocabulary and grammar through dynamic immersion, which means that there are no instructions or translations, and one learns by associating words with images. True accent voice recognition helps users improve their pronunciation, and accompanying imagery helps them form stronger memories. This approach is perfect for audiovisual learners who prefer to learn grammar and vocabulary implicitly rather than through explanations. It's specifically helpful for learners who are working through a traditional language course and need some extra practice material. Rosetta Stone works sort of like an interactive slideshow where you match videos to audio descriptions. The course then moves to some basic verbs, teaching you how to conjugate them and begin forming basic sentences. The course content gets progressively more difficult over time as you are introduced to more vocabulary and grammatical structures. It's common for language learners to feel shy speaking their target language. This is simply part of the learning process and it disappears with practice. The problem, however, is that many learners never get the opportunity to practice speaking. For Rosetta Stone, the curriculum is broken up into units. Each unit covers a different topic. The course is designed to teach you the basics of your target language grammar system and provide you with a broad base of vocabulary. Within each lesson, then you'll find a handful of study activities. After completing the core lessons, you'll be expected to work through a handful of other activities to train different competencies such as grammar, vocabulary, and very importantly, pronunciation. A Rosetta Stone can be a really helpful tool when aligned with the right goals and used in the right way. It is recommended to use it in combination with other tools in order to get the best learning experience. Rosetta Stone True Accent Speech Recognition Engine is designed to help develop one's pronunciation and enable one to speak the target language correctly and confidently. The speaking exercises start by playing the audio recording of a given word or phrase, after which you're expected to repeat. True Accent then grades you on speaking exercises and gives you immediate feedback identifying the exact area where your pronunciation was incorrect or could use improvement. Rosetta Stone is best for someone who is planning to study their target language over the course of many months with the end goal of reaching high proficiency level. One can learn lots of vocabulary and be able to describe all sorts of situations, events, and things. Rosetta Stone by itself will not make you fluent in a foreign language, but it's an excellent program for improving your vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammatical accuracy. It can be used to supplement vocabulary and grammar as part of a balanced study routine. Another app that I will discuss is Pimsleur. Pimsleur is an audio-based language program that teaches languages through bite-sized 30-minute lessons. It is different from the majority of other language learning tools in that it is designed to teach you useful travel phrases for a variety of situations. After completing the lessons, you'll be able to have a short conversation. Pimsleur is ideal for anyone who's interested in learning new phrases before traveling overseas. You won't be filling out conjugation charts or drilling grammar rules on Pimsleur. The lesson content is based entirely on audio lessons, and learners are encouraged to complete a new lesson every day. Pimsleur approach is based on organic learning, or learning to speak a language without studying its formal structure. As such, Pimsleur lessons teach language through interactive conversations. Each Pimsleur lesson focuses on a new conversation and introduces a new word and phrase bit by bit. The lessons are really interesting because you're learning things you can actually use rather than random phrases. The narrator will walk you through each part of the conversation slowly, asking you to repeat aloud after the native speaker and occasionally asking questions to reinforce learning. Pimsleur lessons help you learn vocabulary over time and learn to infer the correct grammar. By constructing sentences in your head and changing words, you really do learn how to think and speak in the language. Pimsleur is a great way to get started with a new language, but it does not offer much intermediate or advanced level material. Another app is Spanish Dict. You can use Spanish Dict dictionary feature to search for definitions, view context sentences, conjugations, and even add words, phrases to custom flashcard decks. It has a built-in spaced repetition system to help learners memorize vocabulary and review it to build stronger memories. You can choose from dozens of pre-made vocabulary lists, then memorize the vocabulary through speaking, writing, and multiple choice exercises. The vocabulary flashcards often include images. Spanish Dict has dozens of tools and resources available for learners. It is most helpful for mastering grammatical concepts, learning to conjugate verbs correctly, and acquiring new vocabulary through spaced repetition. There are two remarkable features: the interactive video units, detailed written explanation, plus plenty of practice sentences for different Spanish grammar topics, and a browse vocabulary list to or create your own, then review flashcards through speaking, writing, or multiple choice quizzes. Spanish Dict offers a large number of grammar topics to take you from the beginner level all the way to advanced level. The topics are divided into categories for introduction, beginner, intermediate, and advanced level, which makes it easy to find a topic you work on. Grammar topics on Spanish Dict generally have two sections. The first is a collection of interactive units, and the second is a written section explaining the concepts in more detail. One of the most useful tools on Spanish Dict is the vocabulary feature that I already mentioned, which enables users to study vocabulary lists and memorize new words using spaced repetition. When you search for a word in the dictionary, you have the option to add it to a list so you can memorize it later. Users have the option to study using speech recognition, writing, or multiple choice. The speech activity is especially innovative. Spanish Dict will show you the English translation and ask you to say the Spanish word. It uses voice recognition technology to gauge whether you pronounced it correctly or not. When you get an answer right, it will hide the card for a while, about 30 days. If you answer incorrectly, however, you'll see the card a few more times in your deck. When you approach a new grammar topic on Spanish Dict, recommend first going through the interactive units to get a basic grasp of the concepts. They don't include a lot of detail, so it's easy to follow them without feeling overwhelmed. Once you have an elementary understanding of the new concepts, you can use the written sections to reinforce what you've learned in the units and get some more practice with a variety of sentence types and verbs. Learning the grammar rules in a foreign language requires dedicated study over a period of time. It is not enough to review the lesson once and expect to know the rules. Spanish Dict provides all the material you need for each topic, but as learners, you should make an effort to review the concepts several times. Another app is Memrise. Memrise is a study tool, actually, that uses spaced repetition to help users learn new material and review over time. On Memrise, learners follow virtual courses that lead them through different levels within a set of study material. The platform offers both official Memrise created courses as well as user created courses, meaning you can find dozens of language and subjects to study. The official language courses include video clips recorded by native speakers, as well as a variety of study activities to train your reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. Memrise also has user-created courses available on the platform. The user-generated content should always be taken with a grain of salt since it is not verified by its team. However, the courses within the most users can generally be considered reliable. Memrise will not provide you with a detailed grammar lesson since you might find it that you might find in other apps. However, it is an incredibly effective tool for improving your vocabulary, and we highly recommend it as a supplemental vocabulary booster for any balanced language study routine. Memrise introduces you to a new word and phrase through short video clips, like I said, that show native speakers pronouncing vocabulary items slowly and clearly. You learn a few new things at a time, then review them with study activities that train your reading, listening, writing, and speaking skills. Memrise uses spaced repetition algorithm that prompts you to review previously learned material over increasingly long time intervals, ensuring that you're less likely to forget what you learned. Individual lessons usually contain 10 to 20 new words and phrases, which you study and memorize through different learning activities. That means every level contains hundreds of new vocabulary items to learn words, phrases, expressions that will help you expand your vocabulary. Memrise is the perfect language app for intermediate level. When the app introduces us to new words, you're able to figure out how they should be used in sentences, since you already have a certain understanding of the grammar. When you see new phrases, you're usually able to work out what grammar rules are at play, thus improve our understanding of how the grammar works. One of the best things about Memrise is that it's really easy to see what learning material you'll cover in each level, then choose any items you don't want to focus your attention on. Also, Memrise offers the ability to exclude words or phrases. It has an ignore function that allows you to select the vocabulary items you want to exclude from your learning activities. We use this function liberally since the courses tend to have a lot of random useless vocabulary. In the screenshots we see there, we've ignored about half of the vocabulary items on this level. Memrise is best used as a supplementary tool to practice with language and learn new vocabulary. It is particularly helpful program for learners that have already made some progress in their target language and need to expand their vocabulary. Memrise is one of the best apps for vocabulary training, but users should be aware that successful language acquisition requires a number of different factors. Nobody can learn a language by using just one tool. So even if you're at an advanced level, you should probably continue to increase your vocabulary while also conversing with native speakers, reading authentic material, and generally immersing yourself in the language as much as possible. Another app that I'll discuss is Fluence. Fluence is a language learning platform that specializes in teaching world languages specifically to native speakers of English. It offers expertly crafted videos, quality content, and a high level of flexibility, allowing learners to begin using a new language almost immediately. The Fluence approach is centered on well-produced videos featuring a tutor who introduces new vocabulary, contextualizes the grammar, and guides lessons. Learners then practice through activities called workouts between videos that feature reading, writing, and speaking exercises, each building towards proficiency. Content on Fluence builds purposely on material learned in previous lessons in the course. So before moving to more complex language interactions, you'll first learn all the vocabulary and grammar necessary step by step. Progress markers show exactly what you've completed, and even though progress is intended to be linear, it's easy to go back and practice things from earlier lessons anytime you want. Fluence integrates video tutorial hosted by a tutor, like I said, as the cornerstone of its language learning method. True, this isn't an authentic one-on-one tutoring experience. It obviously lacks real-time interaction, the ability to ask a tutor questions, and the foundation of an interpersonal relationship. Despite that, we found video tutorials to be enriching and engaging, carefully designed to replicate real-life situations. The video tutorials immerse learners in authentic language usage, encompassing intonation, gestures, and cultural nuances. Visual graphics add depth, aiding learners in comprehending the intricacies of a new language. Influence listening and following along to the dialogue, first using only subtitles is the target language, creates the opportunity to zero in on inflections in the voices of the narrators and hear pronunciation in context. The third time you listen to it, Fluence presents the dialogue in audio-only format, an excellent way to train your ears to pick up subtleties in the language and learn to rely on and trust what you hear without relying on written translation. The words and phrases from the initial dialogue are then incorporated into subsequent vocabulary, speaking, reading, conversational workouts. Real-time feedback is one of the pluses of Fluence, is one of the most helpful features it has. It provides feedback during the learning process. Learners receive individualized guidance and corrections during workouts as they progress, ensuring that they develop accurate pronunciation and usage. The next app is very popular, Babbel. Babbel offers learners an incredible amount of study material, all of which is uniquely designed by their own in-house team of linguists, professors, and language learners. It uses translation as its main method of instruction. While this certainly has its own merits, it contrasts with other more natural methods, such as the already discussed Rosetta Stone dynamic immersion, which can be more effective in helping you actually retain the language you learn long term. Babbel is best when used in conjunction with other language learning method programs for a balanced study approach to study. Babbel teaches language through bite-sized lessons, which generally take about 5 to 15 minutes to complete. Each lesson starts with a few of a new vocabulary, which are sometimes entire phrases, followed by practice activities to help users begin to memorize the new material. Many lessons culminate in a short dialogue that help users understand the new material within the context of real-life situations. Babbel helps learners reinforce lesson content over time through a review feature based on the concept of spaced repetition. Most lessons on Babbel have a very similar structure. The first stage, lessons begin by introducing learners to a handful of new vocabulary, words, or phrases. The second stage, after introducing the vocabulary, you'll be focusing on, during the lesson, you get some concise grammar tips with a number of cultural notes. Then the third stage, lessons use a handful of study activities such as matching pairs, multiple choice, building words, or fill in the blank. And at the fourth stage, many lessons end with a dialogue that uses all of the vocabulary that you've learned. Babbel's approach to grammar is commendable. It introduces learners to grammatical concepts gently and gradually. Babbel's course content offers a good deal of flexibility without being too overwhelming, and the lessons are quite easy to follow. The content is rich in real-world examples, and the grammar is explained in concise, straightforward manner. The audio, recorded in-house by native speakers, plays frequently, and the app regularly encourages to practice speaking using their speech recognition software. Another app is Busuu. Busuu is a language learning platform that teaches you vocabulary and grammar through short, bite-sized lessons to take between 5 and 15 minutes to complete, very similar to the previous one. The lesson content includes native speaker audio, high-quality images, and a spaced repetition review tool to help you better retain what you've learned. Lessons on Busuu begin by introducing you to a handful of new vocabulary words and helping you practice them through speaking, listening, reading, and writing activities. At the end of each lesson, you usually see a conversational dialogue or a speaking writing prompt you can have graded by another user. Busuu has an interactive community engagement feature that allows you to connect with native speakers of your target language to give and receive feedback. Busuu offers different curriculum paths depending on your language learning goals. Travel courses, for example, are designed for users who want to learn a few phrases but not necessarily aim for total proficiency. Lessons focus on everyday situations in this case and have less of an emphasis on grammar. Complete courses, however, are for users who want to become fluent in their target language. Lessons are more broad and include more in-depth explanation of the language grammar. At the end of each lesson, you'll be asked to complete an exercise to be graded by a native speaker user. You'll be given a choice of writing or speaking your response. We like speak our responses. We can speak or write our responses, then a native speaker will grade it for accuracy. We had to record our prompt response a few times, but we're pleased to find that Busuu lets you listen and re-record until you're satisfied with your response. Busuu offers a substantial amount of learning material with lessons that are engaging and easy to complete. Lessons are short and straightforward, usually taking, like I said, about 10 minutes to complete. Within each lesson, you'll be introduced to a handful of new vocabulary words, which you'll then practice by completing a variety of study activities. Lessons culminate in a conversational dialogue and writing and speaking prompt, like I mentioned. Busuu has a highly engaged community, and that's one of the best features of language learners from all over the world who can help you make progress in your target language. It gives you the opportunity to have your speaking and writing exercises corrected by native speakers, usually within an hour or so, so you can incorporate that into your lesson. One of the most popular apps is Duolingo. Duolingo is a reliable but repetitive language learning app. It accelerates learning through new vocabulary and grammar in bite-sized lessons that feel like games. However, it should be your only game learning source. It should not be your only language learning source. The words and phrases Duolingo teaches are hit or miss when it comes to how applicable they are to real-life situations. Sometimes they provide strange combinations. In some cases, one learns usually useful phrases and words that might not have been included in a book or classroom curriculum, however. Duolingo is particularly useful for learning specific grammatical concepts. Its curriculum is divided by individual skills, which makes it easy to focus on a given topic or grammatical concept. Duolingo's bite-sized lessons just take a few minutes to complete, which is ideal for learners wishing to fit in a quick study session into a busy schedule. Duolingo has mastered the concept of language app gamification, playing games to learn, and compared with traditional methods, studying on Duolingo feels uh, much less like a chore. It's actually a lot of fun. Duolingo lessons and practice structure is largely the same throughout the course, which may feel repetitive to some users. It is very useful for building vocabulary and practicing various grammatical concepts. However, it would be very difficult to become completely fluent or even conversational fluent using it by itself. Duolingo should be used as a supplement to a well-rounded study routine alongside other resources. It is specifically convenient for those who are new to learning a language or who prefer to have extra guidance in their studies. It offers learners an organized and structured curriculum that progresses from beginning to advanced with little room for deviation or confusion, but the firm structure is pretty solid. Duolingo lessons generally follow the same structure throughout all areas of the curriculum. Learners answer questions in a handful of formats, such as translating to or from the target language, listening to a phrase and typing what was said, or repeating a phrase aloud using speech recognition. Duolingo text-to-speech technology is good enough to get a general idea of how something should be pronounced. It also offers speaking exercises using voice recognition technology. The app will ask you to say a word or phrase and then grade you on your pronunciation. The speaking exercises are useful in that they encourage learners to practice speaking aloud. However, the technology still has a lot to be improved. One of Duolingo's most appealing attributes is its approach to gamification. Like I mentioned, turning language learning into a game. It has tons of cool features intended to make language learning fun and addictive, with the goal of helping learners build long-term study habits. They have XP, Lingot, streaks, and other features that help users feel more motivated to sign and study every day. Duolingo organized curriculum progression takes the stress out of deciding what to study next. Its courses are best for learners that want to study a language for a long time with the goal of becoming entirely fluent. Fluentu helps learners study foreign languages through videos and click to translate subtitles. Fluentu differentiates itself from standard language learning apps through its use of real-world content. The majority of the videos come from YouTube, cooking videos, product ads, movie trailers, or music videos. If you click on any of the words in the subtitles, you'll see an English translation, plus images and example sentences. You can add any of the words you encounter into flashcard decks and then review them later on. Fluentu provides language learners with hundreds of videos to help practice foreign languages. Since the videos are sourced from YouTube, the content is generally authentic and realistic. You'll find movie trailers, commercials, videos from vloggers, cooking videos, all sorts of things that help you learn everyday vocabulary. You can filter videos by proficiency level or choose from a dozen different topics. It's worth noting that Fluentu won't actually teach you a language. There aren't any lessons or explanations at all. Rather, it is intended to be used as a supplementary tool for users who are learning the grammar and vocabulary and want to practice the material. Fluentu offers hundreds of videos you can use to practice your target language, plus a well-developed video player with click to translate subtitles. The ability to watch videos while scanning the subtitles and click to view translation and context sentences is very useful, though there are some drawbacks to the platform that we feel detract from the overall learning experience. The content quality varies from video to video, and the flashcard feature is excellent. It is recommended that to use Fluentu for intermediate and advanced learners who want to improve their vocabulary, although it would be advisable to use a different tool for memorizing vocabulary. Each lesson consists of video tutorials that feed into workouts. They're the core practice method on Fluence. The workouts encourage a fun type of spaced repetition, one of your favorite ways to practice language. Plus, they're easy to revisit, making the learning experience highly flexible. Workout exercises and activities are intended to reinforce concepts and address frequent challenges that English speakers have when learning a new target language. Everything is provided with thorough English explanations, which differs from the immersion approaches used by other languages programs, such as Rosetta Stone that we discussed at the beginning. And that completes my presentation. Thank you.